Welcome to South Asia. This is J. Reddy, your presenter at South Asia Maps. South Asia Maps targets to bring high quality Indian heritage, culture, geography, and history to the audience in the form of icons, maps, and images. The today's topic of discussion is about imperialisms and the language of Islamic imperialism. This is a very important and serious topic. After the presentation, the audience will have very good inkling and idea of thought process of Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup. These are the India's the topmost intellectual thinkers of the 20th century, later half of 20th century. That means 1950 after partition independence to 2000. Lot of people doesn't know because the Lutyens media, Macaulay's suppressed their work, but the people who studied their work understand and realize they are the one of the monumental thinkers, the greatest thinkers of 20th century. Here is Sitaram Goyalji. He is called intellectual Kshatriya, a Rajarsi. He uses his powerful pen to analyze the forces that are very hostile to the native people, Hindu civilization and native civilizations. He is Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup, passed away 1998, is considered the greatest yogi, Maharshi of modern time. After Mahayogi Sri Aurobindo, who passed away in Pondicherry, in Cholamandalam area or Coromandel area of Gangasagar Bay of Bengal in Puducherry, Pondicherry in 1991. Their work is continued today by Belgian Indologist, scholar and thinker Dr. Koenraad Elst. Himself authored more than 24 books, and each book is a monumental book. And I read them many times, and still I cannot fathom the amount of the understanding he has about the Indology and India from native perspective. And we will cover these the leaders later, but this in brief about them. The present content is taken from the works of Sitaram Goyalji, and they are in the forefront of Hindu awakening, often called by admirers as a Trimurti of Hindu Renaissance or Hindu awakening. That is the brief introduction. Today we will talk about language of Islamic imperialism. What language it speaks. Imperialism is a domination by a country through politically or militarily, even diplomatically, in the affairs, culture, society of neighbors or faraway lands. And they have certain terms, the language. We can understand their language. There are 4 imperialisms operating in India today: the Islam, the Christianity, communism, various forms of Western European or Western imperialisms, European imperialisms like Portuguese, Dutch, Danish, French, and English that worked nearly 200 to 300 years on the Indian soil. Today, our topic of discussion will be the language features of Islamic imperialism. After this, you will get a good idea, and finally we will talk about what is the deluded belief systems. You will get a solid understanding of deluded belief systems, closed creeds, hate-filled ideologies. The issue is not at all Muslim at all. A lot of people think Muslims are a problem, but the Voice of India think tank doesn't think like that. The real problem is the closed ideology, Islam itself. And the converts are erasing their past everywhere in the Islamic world. Everywhere the Arabic mores, Arabic manners, Arabic names, Arabic festivals, Arabic heroes, Arabic villains, everything is Arabic imperialism. Under the religious verbiage or religious garb, religious guise, and religious facade, religious lingo is used for Islam. Islam has brought unassimilative tendencies in India and throughout the world also now, because a lot of Muslims are now living in the United States, North America and Europe. This unassimilative tendencies is the serious issue, and in order to understand their riotous, violent behavior, you have to understand their belief system. That is the topic today we are going to discuss. They are everyday poisoned by deep alienation in their mosques and madrasas under the religious garb. This you have to understand. If you go into self-denial mode, you will not understand the issue at all. Ram Swarup thinks this is asahaja, unnatural religion, or it goes under the garb of religion. The word is not a thing that we are contesting here. It's a very aggressive, hegemonic, imperialistic at heart. Conversion to Islam, Christianity brings alienation from the parent body, and the converts, proselytes, always turn very hostile to the parent body, and they fight, eventually detach themselves. That is Pakistan and India today, and Palestine and Israel today, and everywhere the division is there. Those things we will discuss about. And one of the monumental books Sitaram Goyalji has written is Perversion of Political Parlance in India. If you read this book, you will get a broader understanding and different perspective of how the leaders speak today and what they really meant to convey their message to their audience. And it is one of the very fascinating book, Perversion of a small book. I strongly recommend the audience to read this book. If you are in India and Pakistan, it is a must. Even if you are outside in India and Europe or America, it is very important, because these are generic ideas on Islam. Islam operates everywhere in the same way. And on the planet Earth itself, there are only two serious thinkers who analyzed Islam from the native yogic perspective. Western intellectuals lack this perspective, so their analysis has limitations. Sitaram Goyal and Ram Swarup considered to be greatest thinkers and critics of Islam and Christianity as a part of comparative religion doctrines they produced for Voice of India think tank movement. That's the point you have to keep in mind. There are I will eventually give other presentations, language of Islamic imperialism, next language of Christian imperialism in the other presentation, language of Western imperialism, that is European imperialism of various versions, and language of communist imperialism. All this imperialism has 8 characters. Sitaram Goyalji discerns and maps them very intelligently. That is the very fascinating thinking aspect of India's greatest intellectual giant, Sitaram Goyalji. It is unfathomable, and once you start reading the book, here I will give a brief inkling of that book in my own words, even though their words and their articulation is very fascinating, but we should get some idea of that. There are 8 language features Sitaram Goyalji discerns, and here he maps to Islamic imperialism. In this language feature, there is an inscrutable entity. This entity nobody saw. You cannot scrutinize him. There is no contemporary verification or verification from this side. This inscrutable entity is Allah, Allah wa Ta'ala, that is the God in the Quranic theology, Islamic theology. So this entire ideology is attributed to an inscrutable entity. And there is also incomparable person. In case of Islamic imperialism, the Islamic lingo, he is called Prophet Muhammad, also called Rasul. He is the Prophet Allah decided to send his revelations to him. He is incomparable. Whatever he said, you cannot question it. You have to blindly follow it because he is the agent, Dalal, dealer, appointed by Allah. Allah used him as his mouthpiece. So, he is an incomparable person. A common sense, logic, reason, rational thinking doesn't apply what he said. You have to take what he said as a true. If what he said makes sense in the normal sense, that is great. What he said doesn't make a normal sense, your sense is wrong. What he said is correct. That's very important. Second point, human history is divided into two parts. One is Jahiliya, other is Ilm. These are Arabic words. That means before the birth of Muhammad, entire world history is called Jahili history, means darkness, ignorance. That means by extrapolation, any country that is living outside the Islamic pale is a Jahili culture. After the onset of Islam, after the birth of Islam, the history is Ilm, the light. Allama means intelligent. Ilm. Ulema means learned, intelligent scholars in Islam. So the history of the mankind is Jahiliya and Ilm. And we also notice that these ideologies, Islam divides the humankind in two parts. Mu'mins, whoever accepted this ideology are called mu'mins, believers. In Islam they are called Mussalmans. In Western world they are Anglicized as Muslims, but natives prefer to be called Mussalmans. Others who rejected these ideas are not aware of them are called Kafirs. And it also divides, the language divides the land, the world land, the planet Earth into Darul Harb and Darul Islam. Darul Islam means a peaceful land. The land where they populate or the land where they rule is a peaceful. Any other land, the neighbor land where they do not rule is called Darul Harb. Harb means sword. Literally means the land to be put to sword. That means a believer has to take the sword, fight with them and convert that land into Darul Islam. That means this language of Islamic imperialism divides the mankind into believers and non-believers, and history into a dark period, light period, Jahiliya and Ilm, and it divides the land itself into Islamic land, non-Islamic land. People who accepted this ideology, they are called Mu'mins. Arabs, Persians, Turks and Kurdish, then Pashtuns and Tajiks, Punjabis, Baluchis, all these people are branded as Mu'mins, believers. Their local nativity, identity, culture does not matter. They're all branded like a sterile body, the world entity. Anywhere in the world they reside are called Mu'mins, and they're asked to fight with the Kafirs. The Mu'mins are believers. That means the Muslims. A millat, a group, a qawm. The language also mandates the whole earth, because the Allah has created this earth. After creation, he mandated to the Prophet Muhammad. And Prophet Muhammad passed away in Medina 632 AD. After he passed away, he bequeathed to the Ummah, to the Millat, to the Muslims, to the Mu'mins. So the entire land now belongs to entire planet Earth, North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, entire thing belongs to Mu'mins. Whoever is not a Muslim is a squatter. That means he is residing there illegally. So they have to evict him, or at least convert him and bring him into this proper possession. That means essentially Muslims are legatees of this earth. This is not philosophical, that the entire earth belongs to the humans and flora and fauna have no place in it, only humans should enjoy and live, eliminate. It's nothing to do. It's a political ideology. And it sees two inevitabilities. Finally, the triumph of Ummah, that is the Millah, that is the Mumins, and defeat of Kafirs. Kafirs will be eventually defeated. That's what the theology, ideology says. That is one of the features of the language of Islamic imperialism. They have a high sense of self-righteousness, superiority, smugness, sanctimony. They don't even doubt about it. When you talk to the believers, you feel that sense. Even sometimes you cannot even broach the issue and they immediately turn very hostile to you, because the ideology teaches self-righteousness, smugness, superiority complex. In that, Al-Rahman Al-Rahim means the merciful and powerful Allah has forfeited the lives, the liberties of the Kafirs, and naturally the Muslims should convert them, conquer them, destroy their monuments and deface them, break the idols, and take their females into their harems and populate, use their womb as the producing the future Muslim population. All these things. Accusation, and one of the other feature is it accuses all the crimes, idolatry, shirk on them. Because the Kafirs are doing all this crime, Islam, Islamic language, language of Islamic imperialism, professes they need to be fought. There should be a fight against them so that they should be brought into Allah's path or Allah's paradise, Allah's group. That is their political party. They put it in the religious lingo, Islam. Al-Islam is important. Sitaram Goyalji makes a very important introduction to this. The study of Islam, the story of Islamic imperialism started during the Umayyad time, that is the rulers who came 30 or 40 years after the death of Prophet, and they started waging a war against India. And how Hindus refused to be impressed by Allah and his gibberish, how they waged long drawn out war of resistance till the barbarians were brought to book. What is relevant in our present context, although, is Hindus overcome the Islamic imperialism, but they failed to see the language of Islamic imperialism. Hindu masses today continue to react very negatively in India, you see throughout the world, revulsion towards everything Islamic. But Hindu saints, Hindu scholars, Hindu politicians, Hindu reformers, Hindu journalists or scribes came to accept Islam as a religion, and Islam is given the benefits of a religion as good as bad as their own religion, Sanatan Dharma or Hinduism. This is the self-deception. Sitaram Goyalji says, this is a self-deception and self-denial, and still working as a potent poison on whatever that remains India after partition, after Hindus has given 5 subas, provinces, West Punjab, Sindh province, Baluch province, Sarhad Suba, frontier province, that is Pakhtunkhwa, and East Bangla, East Bengal, Purbi Bengal to the Muslims, and whatever India, partitioned India remained, this giving them that ideology, a religious banner, is doing a great potent poison to the remaining India, even after 1300 years of Islamic aggression on the ancient civilization. Overall, the ideology says is a deluded belief system. The belief system, there is a delusion. A lot of humans get delusion. This belief is also a deluded belief system according to yogic perspective. It is a closed creed, means it is not open for any debate or a discussion. You have to believe it, that's it, and follow it. Because it is a self-righteous one, it is a closed creed. It is also hate-filled ideology, like the concept of Jahiliya and Ilm, the concept of believers, non-believers, the concept of their land and enemy's land, the concept of waging a Ghazwa war, the concept of fighting jihad against. This is a hate-filled ideology under religious garb. So the issue is not Muslims at all. A lot of people, they think in India the Muslims are a problem, very violent and riotous every moment. No, they are like every other people, good or bad. The issue is the belief itself. If you take away this self-righteous belief system from their mind and sanitize it, they should become like a normal people. Christianity used to be like that in the West for a lot of years and centuries. After Renaissance and discussion and debate, it has been tamed, and they are very nice and comfortable with live with other cultures and civilizations. One thing we notice here is converts everywhere on the planet Earth are trying to erase their past. In Arabia, in Persia, in Turania, they are always erasing their past and ancestral heritage, whatever that has remained. Everywhere we see the Arabic mores, Arabic manners, Arabic names, Arabic festivals. Arab heroes become the Muslim heroes, that is the Islamic heroes. Arab villains, whoever the Arabs found in the original days, become the villains of the Muslims everywhere in the world. Arabs in the Levant and Middle East has territorial disputes with the Jews and Israel, so everywhere Muslims in the world now fight against Israel. Even though Israel as a small country has nothing to do with India or nothing to do with many Islamic countries whatsoever. But Arab heroes becomes Muslim heroes, Islamic heroes. Arab villains becomes the Muslim villains everywhere. Essentially, that is a Arab imperialism in the religious garb. In a sense, we can say Islam has brought unassimilative tendencies. Mahayogi Ram Swarup says to India, these unassimilative tendencies makes riots every time. Muslims becomes easily riotous, fighting for every cause on the streets in India. Why? Because these are unassimilative tendencies. Has it been a normal spiritual religion and they came and lived in India, originally invader, later settled, should have been not problem. So thinking of the riots in India, riots of Muslims against non-Muslims, should always keep in this point in mind. This is a very yogic perspective. Sri Ram Swarupji has analyzed. Islam has brought unassimilative tendencies to India, in that sense to the rest of the world also, because now a lot of Muslims live in Europe. We see regularly the riots are happening. This is the normal feature of unassimilative tendency. A small group living in a bigger body or parent body or host body in Europe. And Islamic belief system essentially poisons them. Everywhere they are reading these things and indoctrinated, it gets ideation, and people start behaving like that because they are conditioned, and it gives a deeper ideation. This is essentially, Ram Swarup says, as-sahaja, unnatural religion. The religion based upon certain theological principles not related to your land or soil or nature, a sun god or a moon god. All these things existed in the Arab culture also. Pre-Islamic Arabia, pagan Arabs, they worshipped 365 gods in their Mecca. This is sahaja, very natural. Everywhere in the world, all the cultures, Asiatic, European, and African, in North American, they worshipped rain god, they worshipped sun god, they worshipped moon god, they worshipped the nature. This is as-sahaja, in a sense, unnatural religion. Very aggressive behavior pattern, very hegemonic behavior pattern, and very imperialistic at heart. Conversion of native people to Islam brings alienation, and converts turn very hostile to the parent body. We can see this Mahayogi Sri. This is the book. You can see the characters of the lefty. Perversion of Political Parlance is the book. I have taken this book from Voice of India books. I have given the link below in the bottom, and you can just stop this and also can look at it. And it's a very small, beautiful book. And this particular chapter and content is taken from the characters of leftist language, and chapter 4, characters of leftist language. And this is the website where you can see the book itself, and a lot of Voice of India books. And interested authors, I strongly recommend go and look at them. And Sitaram Goelji's books, some of their admirers have put them, fortunately, so that these are available throughout the planet Earth to any of the audience in India or outside India, and Europe, North America. The Voice of India books, this is the website. You can look at it in for further details. And it's Coinrod Elst books, Ram Swarup's, these books like that. So that is in essence what we talked about, the important language features of Islamic imperialism, which from the victim's perspective, not their perspective, these are the victims who are the Hindus or Kafirs in general, anybody who doesn't belong to this belief system, or even the people who are born in this ideology have no choice but staying there, and it also belongs to them too. So it is the victim's perspective, and you have to understand. And Sitaram Goelji has written a monumental book analyzing the languages of imperialism. He identifies the 4 of them: Islam, Christianity, and Western or European imperialism, like Dutch, Danish, and Russian, British, and French, Portuguese, Spanish, and communism. Excuse me. We discussed them in detail one by one. Here I presented a broader view of the language features of Islamic imperialism. It is inscrutable. It uses a linguistic phraseology, linguistic words. It is an inscrutable entity called Allah, and that means nobody saw him. It goes under his banner. That means he revealed it. You cannot question it. To an incomparable person, this is a very monumental person. Whatever he said, you cannot question either, because he is essentially a facade, a mouthpiece of an inscrutable entity called Allah. Inscrutable entity and incomparable person. And this language of Islamic imperialism divides the mankind into believers who accepted this ideology and non-believers who rejected this ideology, are not aware of it. They are called Kafirs, non-believers, Mu'mins, Muslims as believers. It also divides the history of the mankind into 2 clear parts: the darker period and lighter period. The demarcation point being where this ideology was first revealed to Muhammad in Mecca, that is in the Hejaz region, sitting next to the Red Sea of Arabian Peninsula. They divides the history into 2 parts based upon the birth of this incomparable person. Before that is a darker period, Jahiliyyah, and after the birth and revelation, this is a lighter period. That means Jahili cultures, civilizations has to be replaced with the Islamic culture, Islamic civilization, that is Islam. It also divides the world itself into two parts. The land where Muslims live or populate or rule is called Darul Islam. That means a peaceful land. Peaceful because they own it, they run it. That's a peaceful, nothing else. Even though all Islamic countries are in eternal warfare, still it's called Darul Islam. It's a self-righteous ideology, right? Very superior, very smug, and very sanctimonious. That is very important. As a critique, you have to keep in mind. So it divides the land into Darul Harb, Darul Islam. Darul Harb means enemy's land. Harb itself means a sword in Arabic language. Darul Harb means the land which has to be put to sword. It's a very aggressive lingo. There is no philosophy or inward journey or anything like that. It's essentially a political phraseology that agitates called Tamasika belief system by Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup. So it divides the earth into two parts. It divides the history into two parts. It divides the mankind into two parts. That is what it is. I have given here India and Pakistan 1947 partition. A lot of people talk about Jinnah, All India Muslim League and blame him. That is only a small part. The real serial part lies something behind it. That is the analysis Ram Swarup Sitaram Goyal has brought to Hindus. That's why they are considered very greatest thinkers. They have given very doctrinal, yogic perspective. Here you see Darul Islam. They said is a peaceful land. After they kicked out all the Hindus and Sikhs who lived there. And they are all Mumins, of course. They are converts, Islamic converts, Islamic proselytes, Muslims. And they are now living in Illam, all the brightness. And it's all Ummah. It is a millat. It is a qawm. It is a group of a party started by Allah and Muhammad. What is on the other side of River Ravi? River Ravi is a symbolic separation between Pakistan and India, round about 80-90 kilometers from Madhopur in Himachal, Punjab, Jammu border to Firozpur and Husainwala and Kasur and all those areas. It's a Radcliffe line, the British judge who awarded this based upon the Kafirs and Muslims, non-Muslim population. So essentially, other side we have Darul Harb, enemies land. These are all enemies. There are Punjabis here, there are Sindhis here, there are Baluchis, Pashtuns, but still these are all Hindus. They are not converts. So it's a Darul Harb. They are all Kafirs, means they are infidels. They are not believing in what these people believe. And they think this ancient land of Hindus, one of the ancient civilization, Hindu Buddhist, is Jahili land in their perspective. This means ignorant land. So when a person starts thinking like that, and you have to pay some attention, this ideology is propagated in millions of madrasas, maktabs and mosques under religious banner. That as a kafir you have to pay attention and be very cautious and protect yourself. In the planet Earth of around about 8 billion people, still 6.5 billion people are kafirs. And a lot of land is Darul Harb. And we are all living in Jahiliya. This is very important. So, we discussed about inscrutable entity Allah wa Ta'ala, the supreme God in the theology of Quran, God, or Sitaram Goyalji sometimes called is a godling, a minor thing. And he is incomparable person, Muhammad, dividing the history into two parts and dividing the mankind into Kafirs and Mumins, dividing the land itself into Darul Harb, Darul Islam, and it bans all the converts on which this ideology is forced first by the sourcemen of Islam, that Muhammad itself, then Rashid Khalifa and Umayyad Khalifa and Abbasid Khalifa and later so many other Islamic dynasties. The sourcemen of Islam and propagated by the salesmen of Islam. All these people, irrespective of whether the person is Maghrebian, Masriki or Berber, Arab, Egyptian or a Persian, Azeri, or a Turk, Pashtun, doesn't matter. All are banded artificially as Mu'mins, and they have to fight with against the Kafirs. Essentially, the party members, like Communist Party is a Communist Party members, and all the Mu'mins are the party members. The party is started by Allah and Muhammad. And the ideology or the language of Islamic imperialism sees that Allah mandated this entire planet Earth because Allah has created it, and once He created, He has given mandated to Prophet Rasul. After Prophet passed away in 632 in Hejaz, Medina, and he has bequeathed to the Millat, the Mu'mins, the believers. And they possess it. That means whoever is not a believer, theologically, in their perspective, is a squatter, actually. So they are doing a normal, legitimate thing, evicting the squatters. In 1947, they evicted millions of Punjabi Hindus, Punjabi Sikhs, took their lands, evicted the Punjabi Sindhus, and Sindhi Hindus, all Kafirs from this land, a vast land. And also they did the same thing in the East Bengal, evicted them. And they evicted everywhere, and they're trying to evict when their numbers are not that superior. They don't have a demography in their favor. Military, they couldn't do it, but they're trying to do through street rioting and protesting and all these things. And excuse me, the language of Islamic imperialism sees two inevitabilities. As Sitaram Goelji says, the triumph of this Ummah ultimately in this continuous long drawn battle. Ummah is the group of believers, and ultimate defeat of Kafirs. You have seen the lot of lands from Morocco to Malaysia now are Islamic, means Kafirs were defeated in those lands. And Ummah has triumphed in 1947 itself. Vast land, 5 subas, Kafirs defeated. Gandhiji, Nehruji showed their back and they ran away, and they even didn't put up any fight. So they believe it because Allah told them. So the triumph of Ummah, defeat of Kafirs is inevitable. That's what the language of Islamic imperialism says. And they have very high sanctimonious ideas, self-righteousness. Al-Rahman, Al-Rahim means all-merciful, all-powerful God forfeited the lives and properties, liberties of Kafirs everywhere in the world. The Muslims so has to take their lands and humiliate their gods and break down their idols and capture their women and bring them into their harem and capture their children and sell them in the like slaves. For centuries, the Kafir people were enslaved and sold in the Islamdom in Mecca, in Medina, in Baghdad, in Karbala, in Yemen and Oman, in Kabul, in Central Asia, Tashkent. They were brought from India. These are all Punjabis, Sindhis, Pashtuns who lived close to the Islamic land. The invaders brought them, and today they are not, because they were converted in Islam, they ignored this. Their forefathers themselves were the victims. That fact is totally ignored by a highly conditioned convert today, proselyte. Then all the Kafirs are accused of sin, polytheism and idolatry. They are worshipping the idols. So that is the greatest sin in Islam. If you worship an idol according to Allah, this is a shirk. You should not worship them. That's why they are waging a war. If you stop worshipping the idol and stop worshipping the true God, what they said, their version of the true God, then you will be accepted as a Muslim and allowed to live. There is no special privilege, but you will not be attacked immediately. And if you are not a kafir and such a thing. So, in brief, we talked broadly about the language of Islamic imperialism. I have taken this from the works of Sitaram Goelji, Voice of India think tank, from his book Perversion of Political Language in India and Characters of Imperialisms. As the first part, we looked at Islamic imperialism and its 8 or 9 important features. Eventually, we map all these 9 features with First, we map to Islamic imperialism language, then Christian imperialism language, and communist language, and Western European language. As we move the next presentation, you will see the intellectual, the zenith of Sitaram Goelji, how he could able to discern this and map them so nicely. So that's why he's thought as one of the India's greatest thinkers in the 20th century. In the meanwhile, we'll also talk very briefly about the deluded belief systems, closed creeds, hate-filled ideologies, and the issue is not Muslims at all. Islam itself is a problem. Islam brought unassimilative tendencies to India and today the rest of the world, Europe today. And it poisons with deeper ideonation. It is asahaja, unnatural religion or unnatural belief system. They can have that title religion. That is not a point we need to contest about it. In a sense, it's very aggressive, hegemonic, and imperialistic at odds. Conversion brings alienation from their native culture, parent body. Converts, Islamic converts, Muslims, Muslim proselytes, everywhere are very hostile to the parent body. In 1947, when they got the military and political power on that part of the world west of Radcliffe Award or Ravi line, when they made it Darul Islam, and overnight they have committed genocide and sent millions of people, their own Punjabi brothers, their own Sindhi brothers, because these are the Kafirs, and these Kafirs didn't believe what they believe. That was the main issue, nothing else. So that's the language of Islamic imperialism. Today we discussed, and this is your presenter at South Asia Maps, which brings quality knowledge of Indian history, geography, heritage, and culture in the form of icons, images, and pictures and maps. And I appreciate your feedback, eagerly looking forward for your comments and subscriptions. Please encourage, take time, look other videos and encourage this educational channel, and in this intellectual journey of learning about the ancient civilization of Bharat, south of Karakoram mountains and north of Kanyakumari. See you later.